Welcome back to Mariners Down Under, your positive look at the Seattle Mariners, just with an Australian twist. Today, we kick off our conversations with the 2026 Mariners draft class, bringing on a really exciting arm that's just joined the ball club, and it should be a really great chat for us. On top of that, Dom Canzone will also feature on the show. He's going to run us through his Aussie Animal Survival Squad and what teammates he would select to help him manage some of Australia's finest deadly animals. So that's enough from me. Let's get into it. So everybody that knows me knows that we roll with the tide every day of the week. So we are coming into enemy territory here, taken in the 9th round of the most recent draft out of Auburn. Drew Whalen is one hell of a talent. It's reported to be an exceptional change-up. So adding a bloke like this to the farm is going to be nothing short of exciting. And today we're going to help you get to know him on a personal level. Drew, welcome, mate, and thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So you're a pro athlete now, mate. You're a major league drafted player. Most importantly, you're a Seattle Mariner. Has that? I mean, somewhere still inside you, there's a little kid. So has all of this sunk in yet that you're like you haven't like made it, but you've kind of made it?
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know if it's going to set in fully till like obviously the first time I play in a game or, the first time that I have a real practice here. Kind of being on the injured list for a while is kind of, I don't want to say, taken away from that, but I don't think it's fully sank in. It's sank in quite a bit. It's awesome. Like obviously I've wanted to do this since I was a kid. So it's a really awesome experience, but I think that there is still a little bit of drawback just for not really being fully ready to go quite yet.
What's been the coolest thing? So I was lucky enough to be in Seattle the day that Ace Reese signed. His little brother was there, and they'd kitted his little brother out in a whole heap of free Mariners gear. For me, as somebody who loves giveaways, the free gear would probably be the number one thing on my list. But for you, just what's been that cool moment of wow, like I'm here?
Yeah, for me, I think it was the first day when I showed up and there's all the stuff in our locker. Like you said, I mean, I'm a gear guy too. I think that one of the coolest days is gear day when you get all your stuff, whether that's college or whether that's here. It doesn't really feel all that real until obviously you put on the Mariner stuff or whatever team you're with. And so I think that was the coolest moment for me so far, for sure.
So part of what I'm trying to do with this podcast is humanize the players. So my thing is that we can absolutely criticize players for performance, but there is a line. And that line, unfortunately, in this day and age with social media and there being no repercussions for what anybody says, that line gets crossed often. And if we can get to know you on a personal level, it might be, oh my goodness, Drew had a shocker today. Horrible day for him, but he likes fishing and I like fishing. So therefore, I still like him. So we really try and break it down and get to know you. So can we do that with you? Let's go to the start of your baseball journey. Before all of the talent shone through, what's your earliest ever memory of really falling in love and enjoying the game of baseball, mate?
Yeah. And I've been playing baseball since I was about 3. So I've been playing it for forever. Dad played JUCO baseball back in his day. And so I think the earliest memory really for me was there's this team at my local, what's it called? Like rec ball league. I didn't really play travel ball until I was older, like 14, 15, which in America and it's really old to start travel ball, especially where I'm from. So I played travel ball for a while. I played rec ball for a while, and I think there's a team, it's called the Grassland Eagles, like the all-star team for our little rec ball that just plays in little travel ball leagues or tournaments against other teams, which I guess is travel ball. And I think that those guys who are the guys I ended up playing most of my high school ball with, most of my actual travel ball with, and the guys I went to school with, those are the guys that I played with on that team. And this was in like machine pitch. So, like really young and hitting, I think it was my first actual home run. It hit off the top of the fence and bounced over. I think that was like the coolest moment that I had in my young life. And that was kind of like the feeling I got from just doing that one tiny thing in baseball was like the most joy I've had ever. And so I think that kind of chasing that that moment and being able to like have that sort of joy when you play is kind of, why I love baseball so much. And, that's kind of what my desire has been for however long. So,
So originally you're a Tennessee guy, right?
yes.
So I guess for us Aussies, Tennessee, we think of Tennessee as a joint that loves their music and loves their football. We really don't have a connection to baseball down there. So can you talk to us foreigners about what the baseball scene is like down in Tennessee growing up?
Yeah. So I'm from Nashville, so country, the center of country music. And yeah, I mean, we got the Titans in Nashville, and kind of, do you know anything about Vanderbilt baseball?
Oh, I know tiny little bit about Vandy. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, one of the historic powerhouses. They're in Nashville. They were 15, 20 minutes north of where I grew up, and so there's kind of a big fan base there. But Nashville baseball in Nashville, there's not a lot of there's like one really major travel ball team inside of Nashville, and then there's a lot of smaller ones outside of Nashville. And I would say the main one in Nashville is the Nashville Knights, and I played with them a little bit as I got older. They were, big in the big national tournaments and all that type of stuff. I wouldn't say there's not any big facilities in Nashville or in Tennessee, like, in Georgia and Alabama and all that stuff. So we kind of travel a lot to those types of places to be able to play. But, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of baseball in Tennessee and in Nashville. It's just not really on the scale as those ones. But there's a lot of talent. I can't remember the top like 15 guys from my class that were in Tennessee. They're all either in pro ball or they're in, high level power forward D1 baseball. So, there's it's kind of, I don't know if it's, better or worse than Georgia or Alabama or, all those states, but it's definitely on par with it. But I mean, we got the Brewers AAA team in Nashville, so there's a lot of baseball. You can find baseball pretty much anywhere in Nashville and, Tennessee all around.
Yeah, I actually went, I don't know, it was 3 years ago now, 3 years ago. Went to a Nashville Sounds game. Great
Yeah.
facility there, like, and beautiful place. But I guess for us Aussies, like when you mention Vandy, like obviously Vandy's half decent at college baseball, but we're very much like a football and basketball country when it comes to following American sports. Like baseball and ice hockey is just not a thing. So that's what or we'll think about the Vols or something like that. So for you, mate, you attend Franklin High School. You led it in both baseball and bowling. I'm assuming baseball got the girls and bowling was something that you kind of did on the side. But
Yeah.
you were, mate, 2022 district MVP, 22 and 23 team MVP. I guess my question for you is, when did it hit you that you were really, really good at this baseball thing and you could be part of that small percentage that goes to that next level?
Yeah. I think that I always knew that I had the ability. I think I had a little bit of a struggle with getting on the map in terms of college teams, which I mean, I don't think that ever left. I mean, I had one offer out of high school, so it wasn't like anything crazy. And then it was kind of just, junior year, sophomore into junior year, I think that I saw some of the ability. My freshman year obviously got cut short due to COVID, and so when I went into COVID my freshman year, I was like 5'8", 5'9", like 150 pounds, like just a small dude, like just not very big, not very physical. Wasn't great. Like I was good, just not anything special. And then I came out of COVID like 6 foot 180. And so I kind of completely changed, like got really into working out, like got into the if I have the skill at a base layer to be able to play college baseball, I just don't have the physicality to do it. And so I really took that seriously in COVID because I had nothing else to do. So for me and my baseball journey of getting to college, I think COVID was probably the biggest thing for me of giving me time to like sit there and be like, what do I really want to do? Because obviously at that time, things move really fast and I never really had time to sit back and think about it. And so all I thought about during COVID was getting bigger, faster, stronger to be able to compete. And then going into my sophomore year, like it kind of showed where I was pitching on varsity, hitting on varsity, doing all these things, playing 2 games a day every day, or I guess 4 days a week, playing JV and varsity games every day. And then kind of taking that, just keep them working, and then going into my junior year is probably the best all around because I didn't hit after the fall in college. So my best all around year, and I kind of just put everything together, and then I never really looked back after that.
Thanks for making me feel old, mate, talking about you were in high school when COVID was going on. I was having my first child when COVID was going on, so I appreciate that. I don't have to go to the
Yeah.
gym and try and undo this aging. So, mate, Western Kentucky for you, that's your first stop from a college point of view. As a freshman, I'm sure, like everybody, and it's not just baseball, right? As a freshman, you've got a lot of learning and growth as a person. For the season for you, 16 games, 8 starts, 5.25 ERA, 2-3 record, all freshman team. I mean, that's all pretty nice to hear. But what were some of the differences that you noticed straight away from where you were at high school ball to then jumping up to that new level of playing at the college level? What were some of those differences?
Yeah, obviously had to transition from being a two-way player to being a pitcher only. That was kind of a rough transition, but, ended up being the best for me, where I was able to really focus on baseball. I mean, really focus on pitching in baseball, and I think the biggest difference for me was just kind of, like I said earlier, just the physicality of players. Like, there's 1 or 2 people in high school you really have to worry about, and on some teams, there's no guys you have to worry about. And in college, it's like, you know, maybe, like, there's in mid-major baseball, I'd say there's 5 to 6 guys you really have to worry about, and then the rest you can't really take a break. So, I think it was really just the depth of lineups that really were different, and then kind of also the expectations of you're playing for a college, you're not playing for a high school. Like, these coaches, you know, in high school, like, I feel like high school coaches really care. Like, my coach, it was like baseball wasn't his only job. Like, it was awesome. He really loved it and he made money off of it, but it wasn't his only job and his only being able to sustain his life. That wasn't his only thing. But when you get to college, it's like those coaches, that's their entire life. Like, they spend every day with you guys. And so kind of learning to deal with those expectations my freshman year, and then, towards the end of my freshman year, not having things go. I had a really good first half of the year and then kind of fell apart towards the end. And, dealing with that going into my sophomore year, I think those were the biggest adjustments that I had to have.
So sophomore season, you take that down to a 3.53 ERA. It's a 9-3 record. So you have learnt, right? You've jumped to that next level. You were so great, mate, that you earned Conference USA Pitcher of the Year honors, a National Pitcher of the Year, watch list berth, and then an all first team Guernsey as well. And then you decide to hit the portal. Now, we're in the age of opportunity and we're in the age of NIL. Something that I have never had your talent in anything I've done, I don't think, except make a mess of my life. But talk to me. Just explain this whole portal thing, your decision. You'll obviously have some, I guess, some loyalty to your existing college because they gave you a shot. There's probably some guilt leaving. There's probably also part that comes in bigger colleges, cooler baseball gear, cooler facilities. Also, you only get one life, so you only get one chance at this. And then, maybe the MLB draft is on your radar and somewhere else can give you a better opportunity. So put all of that in a nutshell for me, mate, and walk me through your decision to jump in the portal.
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of me that, being from the South and, I went to Western and it was kind of my only option. Like, I could have gone JUCO or to a lower level, and I went to Western. It was my only option. Like, I was so thankful for them giving me that opportunity, but also kind of just how I am. I always wanted to, play in the SEC, or really SEC, ACC, and then have a chance to win a national championship. So from a team perspective and a winning perspective, those are the biggest things. I wanted to be able to win the national championship or at least have a chance. And so that was kind of my biggest reason for leaving. And then, on the back burner of that, you have facilities. You have that. I think if I would have stayed at Western, I think the max, like in terms of MLB draft, like everything would have had to go perfect for me to go like top 5, top 3 round picks. Where at, schools like Auburn, I had a little bit more room for error. I could show my stuff on a bigger stage, against the best hitters. And so those were kind of the main things. And then, yeah, the portal's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And then kind of how you said, where you only get one life, you only get 4 years in college, like max. I guess 5 now. But I had no injuries before, so I was looking at a 4 and done year, like 4 and done time. So I was like, let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can, get on a team that can win the whole thing, and see what we can make out of this. And So that's kind of where I was at. Yeah, the leaving the conversation to leave Western was probably one of the most awkward conversations I've ever had in my life, and it probably will be for a long time. So weird experience there. And then yeah, sifted through all the teams. The first week I probably talked to 20 teams, which was very different from my high school experience of one or two. And then yeah, just figured that Auburn was the best opportunity for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to hold that against you, mate, but I feel like we're gonna have issues with our friendship moving forward. I have to get you some Bama gear, mate, teach you about what national championships are in football, eh?
You guys should
Um,
have. No Bama person said anything to me. That's not my fault.
true. Just like a question. So, like, I've been down to Tuscaloosa. I went and watched Texas and Bama. Just love the vibe. And clearly, being a Mariners fan, I'm not the sort of person to just only jump on teams that win championships all the
Yeah.
time. So I feel like I can be a real fan. I actually know nothing about Bama baseball. So, and maybe you don't either, but where is the sort of standings between the two? Like, obviously, football, Bama's got your head and shoulders, but from an Auburn point of view, like, is it a bigger program? Are there better facilities? Do they focus a bit more on baseball than Bama? Like, what do you know there?
I would say that Auburn. I've never been to Bama. I had surgery the week that they went to Bama, so I did not go. I would say from an outside perspective and just being at Auburn, I would say that the facilities for baseball and how much the like school cares, I would say that Auburn cares more about baseball than Bama. However, they did get the better of us this year, so I mean, I can't really say anything. They beat us in the series and they went to Omaha and we didn't. So, results wise, you could say that they've outclassed us the past couple of years, but I would say that in terms of like want the team to succeed, I would say that Auburn, beats Bama in baseball. Basketball and football are two different stories, which, you know, I'd say Auburn's had whenever Auburn beats Bama, it's one of the biggest moments in the country. But, that also comes with that we're always the underdog if every time we win something goes crazy. But yeah, I mean, I was never I was never really an Auburn fan before I went to Auburn, so I didn't really know much about, the Auburn versus Alabama rivalry other than on the surface. But this past year, I think that's kind of what I've taken from it of, football, Bama's pretty hard to beat in terms of, dedication and all that stuff. But, baseball, I think Auburn's a little bit better.
So you mentioned that like there's a couple of things you've taken away from your time at Auburn. Mate, obviously the injury in March cut you down. Tommy John's the option moving forward. But you speak really, really highly about that Auburn program. So what did you take away from there? I know you had the surgery, but just because you're not in the facility practicing, there's some really high level coaches and people there. So when you think about your time, what do you think about at Auburn? How did they enhance you as a person?
Yeah, I think that, in the fall and all, the fall and the build up to the season, I think that, I think things could have gone better for me there. But, sometimes baseball just works out where things don't go great for you. And, it's not from a lack of, somebody purposely making things not go well for me. I think there was just a couple things we tried and a couple things that didn't work out. And that's kind of how it goes. But in terms of battling back when the season started. I think I was doing a really good job of, trying to figure out how to get back to where I was at Western. And then, right when I got back to where we all thought that I was getting to the point of, what they recruited, bam, my elbow pops. And then it was kind of just, you know, getting back and getting recovered. But, being able to watch it really sucks sitting on the sidelines and not being able to, play against Texas, play against Arkansas, watch all those, like see those games from the mound. Taking the fact that I blew out the first weekend of SEC play in Missouri. But it also, and I can give Butch Thompson credit for this. This is kind of how he put it in perspective. He was sat there and was like, you might not get, you might not get a start. You're not going to get a start this year. You're not going to be able to pitch against these teams. But if you take it the right way, I mean, I can watch Dre and Petro and Marciano go out there and I can get 3 starts mentally a weekend against the best teams in the country and figure out why those guys are successful and, what made me struggle in the fall, what I would use when I was healthy to, get to this point. And so kind of, I didn't get to go on a lot of the road trips just because of, having to do rehab in Auburn. But, being able to be at the home games and, in front of a packed out crowd and, watch us play Texas, watch us play Arkansas, but then also being able to sit at home when we went to Florida and see things on the TV through like looking at it through a different lens of you know, it's not just me watching a game, it's me seeing why these guys and knowing all their metrics and knowing all their velos and knowing, when things are down, when things are up, knowing their misses and understanding why that it makes them successful and then being able to get that to me as well and just continuing to go over stuff as if it was the off season, as if it's not really just me being injured. I'm just, watching and learning. So I think that those were the biggest things for me.
Now, medical science is amazing these days. Like we're having injuries now that 100 years ago would have just ruined a career, and now
Yeah.
they're minor hurdles in the grand scheme of things. Like when you go through Tommy John, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Life's against you. But in the grand scheme of things, it is just a minor hurdle in your overall journey to success, right? So with the injury and the surgery, you then opt to enter the draft. Was there any thought of trying to return for another year of school or anything like that? Or were you just set on, nah, it's my time, I've got to go here?
Yeah, there was a lot of thought about going back to school. I would say that if I felt that I could be back and not just, wasting a roster spot or, coming back and going back to Auburn and not maybe pitching the last quarter of the season. And, if I come back for that quarter of the season, do I even have a spot or is everyone else just balling? And then it's like, what can I really do? It was so I think that if there was a little bit more of a opportunity that I think that I could have come back earlier, I would have considered it more, but kinda just based on the timeline and, the fact that I needed to have full reconstruction and not the brace, it was it didn't seem likely that I would be able to come back fully ready to go, if I did make it back, and even if I did come back, I think, like, I wouldn't have been ready for opening day regardless, just based on kind of the stuff I've learned. So, it kind of based on how the draft went, I think it was the best option for me, easy that, you know, to be able to take the spot and not have a timeline to come back and be able to just rehab completely.
Now, in other interviews throughout your life, really, you've spoken really highly of your mum and dad. You've mentioned your old man has been there to push you, to help you through tough times. Can you speak for a second on how important their support has been in getting you to a point where, you could be good enough and confident enough and sure enough in yourself that you could throw your hat in the ring and become an MLB drafted player?
Yeah, I mean, they were amazing. Like, there's nothing that I wanted to do that they wouldn't help me at least help me try to get to. They they never I think the biggest thing for me is that I never really had another plan other than to be an MLB player or a professional baseball player, and I think that they never really pushed that hardly against it. Like, there were obviously times where they were like, we could think about doing some other things, but like they never like forced me to do anything that I didn't want to do, and they just supported me entirely. And then, when it came to going to Western and having to pay for school, they were right there and being like, "We believe in you, and we trust that you'll be able to pay us back and you know do all this stuff." And then when I entered the portal, my dad and my mom never, they were big Vanderbilt fans, just being in Nashville for a while, and so they never forced me to like, dude, you have to do Vanderbilt. Like, it was kind of whatever you feel like is best, we'll let you do. And then, even with this past thing of wanting to go back to Auburn or coming back here or coming to the draft, it was whatever you want to do. Like, we'll be there to support you. So I think that they've done a really good job at, you know, being there and being supportive and always being there for me to talk to, but never in the most basic way of just overstepping. But like, they've never even been close to that. So I think that was the biggest thing for me.
So round 9 of the draft rolls around. It's the Mariners that call your name. We think of Seattle as a real factory of arms. I've spoken to, gosh, we've had about 50 prospects on the show already, and we've had major league players on, and everyone just talks about when you get drafted, the Mariners are one of 3 or 4 teams that as an arm you really hope that you go to. So I know that your answer is not going to be anything other than I'm excited to be here, but how fortunate do you feel that you've ended up in a place like Seattle, in this organization that just has this track record of getting the most out of arms?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, Max Weiner, the guy that was here for a couple years ago, the Texas pitching coach now, I talked to him for a second, when I was in the portal, and so kinda looked into him a lot in the portal. So, kinda looking at what he built here after, like, and kind of in hindsight now is really awesome to see, and then kind of everything that I've heard about, this organization and having 5 to 6 starting pitchers in the show that are just that I know every name without even really being a Mariners fan. And then, Cade Anderson and Sloan, like, I watched Cade Anderson pitch a whole lot of LSU, and then I watch him pitch for the Mariners, and he's even better. So I think when the draft came around and it ended up being the Mariners, I think with being a TJ guy and with, how the success has kind of gone in my career of, my profile and what the Mariners work really well with, I think it was the best fit for me personally. So
Now, I did read somewhere that your favourite player may or may not have been Corey Seager. Now, as a Mariner, mate, that ain't going to cut the mustard anymore. So,
it,
who is your favourite Mariner to watch now?
Mariner, I think Brian Wu be be my number one. If I had to go pitcher, if I had to go hitter, I think, Ichiro. It's hard to go against him, but I think that, yeah, I didn't really grow up watching the Mariners, grew up watching the Dodgers. So that's where the Corey Seager came from. Yeah, he's probably not with the greatest team to be against right now. But so yeah, I think Brian Wu is probably my favorite. Obviously Randy Johnson's a legend. So, you know, those are kind of the guys that I watch the most. Or at least I look out for when Wu starts and then I try to watch those.
I mentioned your mum and dad being really great supports. You got two sisters as well, Katie and Megan. I'm sure when you were younger, they annoyed the absolute shit out of you. But as we grow and as we mature and become humans and not kids, we start to really bond and that family support grows. Can you talk to me about them and how they've helped you and they've supported you and the role that they play in your life too? Because we will, on this podcast, we're going to hopefully in the next month have a women in baseball podcast. I've got a daughter. I'm a girl dad. It's my whole thing is baseball's just not for the boys and softball's for the girls. Like this is a sport for everyone. And for you as a player, there are so many people that are supporting you and so many strong women in your life as well, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Katie, growing up, I went to all of her softball games. She played softball for Franklin, and so I went to all of her softball games. And then, as I got older, she went to Ohio State, moved away. She's now in Charlotte doing engineer stuff out there. So kind of been hard for her to kind of come to all my stuff as I got older. But anytime a regional or like a big game comes around or anything, like she watches every week, just not from the place. And her support has been awesome. She texted me, even though she was going to be at my draft party that I had, she texted me on the morning of the draft day and was like, "Congratulations, I'm so proud of you," all that stuff. So, her support's been amazing and, she never wavers. I think she's they're in the same boat with my mom and my dad of, she knows a lot about baseball and she never tried to push me to do anything. She was just always there to support me. So that was great for me. And then yeah, Megan frankly does not give a shit about baseball or sports in general. So, she's the only one in the family. She did cheerleading in high school, but other than that, she's never cared. She doesn't even really know what I'm doing half the time, but all she knows is that, I'm her brother and she supports pretty much everything. And I'll say like in terms of, not slacking off and, taking everything seriously, I think even though she doesn't know much about baseball, she's probably the hardest on me. We're like, like Megan, like Katie and my dad, like they always want, like we talk about things and we planned it out. My sister's just like, what do you want to do? And then I tell her and she's like, all right, well, just go do it. Like there's not anything that we need to talk about other than just go do it. And, she's been awesome. It's a very different relationship that I have with her than the rest of my family, just because, you know, like I said, she doesn't really know much about baseball. She doesn't really care much about baseball, but she watches it because I do it. So, yeah.
I think a lot of people think the differences between Australia and America could be things like deadly animals, driving on the other side of the road. For me, it's the difference of Megan and Megan. Two very different pronunciations there, but
Yeah.
Megan might not give a flying shit about baseball, mate, but I guarantee you the day you make your debut at T-Mobile Park, it's going to be all over her Instagram and she's going to
All right.
pretend to be an expert of it.
Oh
bank
yeah.
that bank that in.
I'll put about 100%. I'll put 99.9% chance she'll be in T-Mobile for sure. So yeah, she's awesome. They're all awesome. It's, the support is awesome from them.
Now, every time we have a guest on, we hear about all of these great connections and these friendships that are formed. And sometimes they're from people in your draft class. Sometimes they're from people that you go through the rehab group with in Arizona. And sometimes it's just somebody that you get not stuck, but you're at that same level of minor league baseball for a while and you've got this inseparable bond with for the rest of your life. I know it's only been a short time. You've been in the organization, but who are a couple of the people that you're enjoying hanging out with now? And you're not just teammates, you're actually mates with them.
Yeah, from my class, from the draft class, I think, Connor Marshburn, Wyatt Queen, Matthew Mathis. I don't know how exactly you
Yeah, I
pronounce it.
can't help you out with that one, mate.
I think
Yeah.
it's Mathis. I think it's Mathis. Anthony Trito, you know, Chris Diaz, Chris Torres. Kind of. I don't want to say all the pitchers. Pretty much, like we're all kind of in the same group. Where I think they're in the same group more than me. I'm with the rehab guys for the most part, but outside of baseball, we're all the same age. All came in on the same thing, so we hang out a lot. And then in the rehab group, Griffin Higgins, Grant Nip. So been a lot of kind of good. I think it's a good combo of draft guys, but they're all throwing, they're all doing all the stuff. Getting building up slightly or building up a lot. And on the rehab group side, there's a lot of guys going through the same thing. They're gonna roughly start throwing at the same time I do, and are a little bit older for me as well. So I think that those are good people to be with on both sides.
You mentioned a really good person, Grant Nip. You'll have to let Grant know that you've come on the podcast. Grant's a really good friend of mine. You could not be friends with a better person. Like that man is just an outstanding human being. So if you copy him in everything he does as a pro, mate, phew, tell you what, sky's the limit with that. Can you give me an update, rehab and recovery wise? Where do things sit? Where are you up to? Where's your next progression? What are you excited for?
Yeah. So the next progression for me is starting to play catch. I still have not thrown. I am 21 weeks out post surgery tomorrow. So I should start throwing at 25 weeks. And then kind of for that, it's kind of just building up and continuing to try to get ready for spring training. And, I might be a little bit late to spring training, might be a little bit late to the season next year, but that's the goal. That should be roughly 12 months. And they say they say it takes about 12, 15 months to get back to normal. So you know, I'm not sure what, the season looks like for me next year, but I should be firing on all cylinders for the most part towards the end, and then we'll see how it goes. But as of now, it's, starting doing one-handed plyos right now and getting ready to throw.
Well, we got the mother of all lockouts coming, mate. So you actually might be ready at the start of the season,
Yeah.
the way the
Sure.
way things are going. Unfortunately, Dodgers might have ruined it for everybody, I'm afraid.
Sure.
Look, work ethic is a massive one. You've been drafted. That's obviously great, but you're going to need to keep pushing. And there's going to be adversity along the way. Now, you've already had adversity with the injury, but there's going to be ups and downs in your career. Talk to me about Drew, the competitor. What can we expect to see from you out on the field? Who are you as an athlete? And what do you do when you are getting battered around a little bit in an inning? How do you get yourself back on track, mate?
Yeah. I mean, from me, from the competitive side, I don't there's I've seen I know I'm gonna sound like an old head, and I'm not really that old, but I've seen a lot of stuff, been around college baseball for 3 years. I was healthy for 2 good years for me, and then, seeing a lot of stuff at a different level. I think the biggest thing for me is that nothing really can cause me to, spiral. And, when it comes to, getting knocked around, like I've gotten knocked around a bit, and it's I've been able to get myself out of it. Whether that's in game or whether that's after the game. I think my adjustments are really good. I think that when it comes to competitiveness, there's not really much more that you could get, like that more you could do than me. I think that it's not really just it's not really just a game. Like I want to win. I want to kill. I don't really just want to win. I want to, embarrass you. So I think for me, from, the competitive side, that you're not really going to find anybody else, more competitive than me. And it's kind of just how I've been of, being a walk-on at Western Kentucky to getting to this point, like, it's just not there's not really much you can do that's gonna throw me off, so I think that's kind of the biggest thing for me.
And what about Drew as a person? Like when baseball stops, you get some time to yourself. I heard your golf game's pretty handy, but I kind of feel like that's something everyone says. And those courses out in Arizona, that's going to expose you big time if the
Yes.
golf game isn't up to scratch. I assume that's a big part of your relax time. But what else do you like to get up to when you're off the mound? You got a little bit of time to yourself.
Yeah. I like to just hang out, like to watch, watch movies, play video games, all the normal stuff. And yeah, I mean, I was good at golf. So I mean, I don't know how good is good, but I'll shoot. I mean, I'll shoot in the mid 80s. At least I used to. So I mean, I'm decent. But who knows? Who knows how good I will be after not swinging a club for a year? So we'll see. But I like to bowl. Obviously, I bowled in high school. Bowling with my left arm right now, so that's a fun little challenge. But so that's kind of just how it. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty, relaxed, straightforward. If somebody invites me to do something, I very rarely will say no. We'll go hang out, have some fun with whatever, and kind of just hanging out. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much all I really do. So
We'll put that to the test, mate. How about next off season? You come to Australia and come fishing for some Murray cod. Are you in or are you going to show me up
really,
now?
I've been watching Alexander Volkanovsky, his channel that he does, deer, and he went fishing for some lobster. I was like, I've been watching all that stuff. I've got into UFC in the fall, so I've been watching his stuff a lot. And I mean, I will absolutely come down to Australia. That sounds awesome.
He's gone from like a very violent man to now being so in touch with himself in
Yeah.
nature, and it's just the craziest switch up. Now, mate, I want to do a bit of a segment with you here. Talking tattoos, I noticed you've got a little bit of the old artwork on the arm. What are you sporting? What's your theme? Was it like me, an impulsive decision, or what you got going on?
No, this is I've wanted to get a sleeve for a while. I don't get anything on my right arm. You can't dirty the throwing arm. But all this is, Celtic Irish stuff. The My tattoo artist kind of messed this up. Everything that is skin right here is supposed to be black, and everything that's black is supposed to be skin. And I don't know what happened, but he messed it up. So that's why I have these little rays around it to kind of make it darker, which I think, in terms of saving a tattoo goes, I think it ended up pretty good. So, but then then I got the 6. This is my number, kind of just pretty straightforward. And then ace, this little dragon here. And then I got Vincier on the inside of my arm. It means conquer. So, I think that's what I'm working with. I never really wanted to go below the elbow until I got these, and now I kind of want to go below the elbow. So we'll see. We'll see what it works with the next couple years. But that's kind of what I'm working with. That's all I got. I don't have anything anywhere else. Oh wait, I do. I have something. I have a tattoo right here. It's my family tattoo. Both my sisters have it. So that's kind of what I'm working with. I really like tattoos. I just, I'm not the most creative guy, so all mine are pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like, yeah, you want to stop there, and then you end up going down the whole arm. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what you end up with. Mate, before I let you go, obviously been a great chat with you this morning. There's two questions we ask every guest, one fun one and then another to help us out. So in a hypothetical universe, there is a locker room that you're in with all the Mariners people that you've met so far, and there is a big bull kangaroo in there, one of those big units, as tall as me, sort of around that six-ish foot, 6'5", 6'6". What teammate have you met so far that is either brave enough or stupid enough for you to nominate to get that thing out of there for you?
I know one Auburn baseball player that would be stupid enough to do that, but I think here, the only guy that I think would have a chance is honestly like Grant Nick.
Oh, he's a big boy. Yeah.
Yeah, just being big from Louisville, like I think he's the only guy that would have a chance. No, oh, I don't remember his name. We got a big country guy here, and for the life of me, I cannot remember his name right now. But he's big enough that he could definitely do something to it.
We got a couple. Yep.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't know. I think Kangaroo would kick the hell out of anybody else, and I don't think anybody on this team is dumb enough to go try to fight it.
Nah, I think everyone's trying to protect their body, which is their career, right?
Yeah. But if he ever sees it, Caden Combs, 100%, Auburn sophomore first baseman, 100% thinks that he could take that down, 100%.
But could he in reality? Because personal belief and reality can sometimes
I
be
don't
two different things.
He keeps saying that he could take down a silverback gorilla by himself. So I don't know, but I don't. He definitely would think so. I don't know if he could, but he definitely thinks he would.
Well, you know what? Maybe Auburn need to come and do a preseason here in Australia. I'll take him out bush and put him to the test, eh? See if the rubber meets the road.
If you text him with like a challenge, he will absolutely do it.
And finally, mate, like obviously getting players on is tough. The internet is gross. And most players aren't on social media much, which I completely understand. And, you know, it's not just a short little trip down the road for me to come out and ask you guys if you want to come on a podcast. So to help us keep the show going, who can you put me in touch with? Who do you think would be a really good next guest to have on here to share their story and have, you know, we've got about 13,000 subscribers on the YouTube alone. It's a massive platform just so we can get that story out about somebody. Who have you got for me?
I think Connor Marshburn would be a good conversation. He's funny and he's like, I don't know, he's got an interesting background, so I think he'd be a good one for sure.
All right, I'll try and find a way to reach out to Connor if you can give him a heads up that a bloke from Australia is going to send him a message. But mate, want to thank you for all of your time. Outstanding person. I just having the conversation. Sometimes, luckily enough, I don't think I've had it on this podcast, but I do other media work. Sometimes talking to people's like pulling teeth and you're like, oh my goodness, give me something. But I feel like everyone's had an amazing opportunity today to get to know you. And there is so much about your game to be excited about. So wishing you all the best with your recovery and everything in your career. And hopefully in 12 months, mate, we can catch up and you've thrown a few innings down in A ball or double A ball and we can check that progression. But yeah, just want to extend a thank you for all of your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. It was awesome.
So what a great young bloke. You can look at Drew as a player and you can know that he's got some really good stuff, some really exciting stuff on the mound, but he also continues the trend of the Mariners drafting really, really good human beings, which is great to see. Now, recently I was able to catch up with one of the best Mariners hitters in 2026, Dom Canzone, and have a chat to him about who he would nominate to save the day if some really crazy Australian wildlife entered the Mariners clubhouse. So let's take a listen. All right, we're here with Dom Canzone from the Seattle Mariners here today. Mate, I've got 5 deadly, well, they can be deadly Australian animals here. They're all in the Mariners clubhouse. You've got to nominate somebody to get rid of that. So first up, we've got the big bull red kangaroo. Who's getting rid of that one, mate?
That's easily a task for Luke Raley. I think he's going to take this guy out pretty quickly, straight to the ground, maybe a quick headlock.
Simple. Let's flip the page, and we've got an eastern brown snake. Now, this is pretty deadly, mate. This actually lives in my backyard. Who's got the job on that?
That's Bryce Miller for sure. He's got the boots. He's going to stomp it out.
Interesting. Colt Emerson said the same. Next page, mate. Saltwater crocodile up to 5 meters. This is going to make an alligator look like a bathtub toy.
This one's really tough. I don't think anybody in our clubhouse taking it out, so I think we just feed CY to the wolves here and let the croc go to work.
That's fair. All right. Next one, number 4, a redback spider. Who's getting rid of the redback, mate?
I got a feeling Louis just stomps that thing out. I think that's a quick kill for him.
And the final one, mate, blue-ringed octopus. It's tiny, but it is deadly. This thing will kill you in minutes. Who's taking care of this one?
For some reason, I feel like Woo's got this one. Yeah, he loves to fish and stuff, so I feel like he could somehow reel this thing up and take it out. Maybe make a good meal out of it.
All right, that'll pop a cork in it for this week. Thanks for tuning in and supporting the show once again. There's a lot of exciting things happening in the Mariners organisation, and we look forward to bringing you a lot more of it soon. And don't forget, no matter what happens with baseball, with the lockout, the mess that the Dodgers are making, we are still going to continue to bring you interviews. We've been all about the farm system, all about the organisation from the inception of this show. We've been running with this for about 18 months and it is not going to stop now. And trust me, you're not going to be short of Mariners content no matter what happens. So until next time, stay safe, stay well, and go Mariners.